They weren't just acting tough. These men were tough. In war, in the streets, and behind the scenes of some of Hollywood's most brutal productions. You've seen them crack skulls on screen, but what they did off-screen, that's where the real stories begin. From war heroes to barroom brawlers, these 10 actors didn't need a stunt double. 10. Robert Mitchum. Hollywood tried to tame him and failed. Before he ever hit the big screen, Mitchum had been arrested for vagrancy, worked chain gangs, and got locked up in a marijuana bust he barely flinched over. When they asked him about it, he said, "I like marijuana. It's just the law that I don't like." He had the sleepy eyes of a jazz musician and the fists of a barroom brawler. Directors loved him because he was calm under pressure. Crews respected him because he didn't take himself too seriously. But everyone knew, if things went sideways, Mitchum wasn't the guy you wanted to cross. Number 9. Burt Lancaster. Towering at over 6 feet with the agility of a gymnast, Lancaster didn't just look like a force, he was one. Before Hollywood, he was a circus acrobat. That's right, the man did his own stunts, flips, and fight scenes long before it was fashionable. He brought a raw athleticism to the screen, but what really made him tough was his willpower. He was fiercely independent, ran his own production company when studios wanted control, and didn't back down from anyone. Behind that $1 million smile was a man who demanded respect, and usually got it. Number 8. James Coburn. Smooth, sharp, dangerous. Coburn didn't just look like the guy who could break your nose. He actually trained to do it. Behind that grin and laid-back swagger, he was a serious martial artist. He studied under Bruce Lee himself, not just for a role, but as a way of life. Bruce once said Coburn was one of his top students, a weapon with legs. Add to that a gravel voice, a sharp jawline, and a presence that made villains nervous, and you've got one of the most underrated tough guys in Hollywood history. Number 7. Steve McQueen. The king of cool, but also the king of getting into trouble. McQueen grew up in reform schools, stole cars as a teen, and found direction in the Marine Corps. And when he made it big, he didn't slow down, he just found faster cars. He did his own driving stunts in Bullitt, raced motorcycles competitively, and once had to pull a gun on a stalker who broke into his house. Directors said he was difficult. Castmates said he was unpredictable, but everyone agreed he was fearless. On screen, he played rebels. Off screen, he lived like one. Number 6. Chuck Norris. Before he became a meme, Chuck Norris was the face of martial arts in America. A 6-time world karate champion, a U.S. Air Force veteran, and the only man to go toe-to-toe with Bruce Lee on film and survive. Off-screen, Chuck ran his own fight schools, trained police units, and even worked with the military to develop combat programs. In movies like Delta Force and Walker, Texas Ranger, he didn't just play a tough guy, he was one. And while the internet made him a legend, it was real-world grit that earned him that reputation first. Number 5. Clint Eastwood. If danger had a voice, it would sound like this. Eastwood wasn't a brawler like some on this list. He was a different kind of tough, the silent, steel-eyed kind. He created an entire archetype, the lone, unshakable man who didn't blink under pressure. On set, he was known for working fast, staying calm, and never losing control. And when he moved behind the camera, he brought that same no-nonsense style to directing, often finishing films ahead of schedule and under budget. Clint didn't need to shout to be feared. He just had to walk in the room. Number 4. Ernest Borgnine. He wasn't your typical leading man. No six-pack, no perfect jawline. But toughness, he had it in spades. Before the movies, Borgnine spent a decade in the Navy, serving during World War II. He came home with calloused hands and a no-nonsense attitude, and Hollywood noticed. He played everything from villains to war heroes to gruff working men, roles that reflected who he was off camera. Co-stars said he was the real deal. Crew members said he never acted like a star. Ernest Borgnine didn't pretend to be tough, he just was. Number 3. Charles Bronson. If silence could kill, it would wear a mustache and walk like Charles Bronson. Born to a poor coal mining family, Bronson worked in the mines as a child, deep underground, breathing dust, breaking rock. He served in World War II, earned a Purple Heart, and came back with a face you don't forget. On screen, he wasn't loud, but he was lethal. In Death Wish, The Magnificent Seven, and dozens more, Bronson didn't flinch, didn't bluff. He finished things. He was the kind of man who could say more with a stare than most actors could with a monologue. Number 2. Kirk Douglas. He wasn't a brawler. He was a brawler and a businessman. Douglas rose from poverty, fought through Hollywood politics, and stayed relevant for over 60 years. Known for that volcanic temper and steel will, he went toe-to-toe with studio heads and blacklisted writers and won. He produced Spartacus, demanded the credit for Dalton Trumbo, and risked his career for what he believed in. He didn't just play Spartacus, he was Spartacus. Ask anyone who crossed him. Kirk Douglas was a man you didn't push around. Number 1, Lee Marvin. Before Hollywood, he was in the Pacific, a Marine in World War II, wounded at Saipan and sent home with a Purple Heart. He brought that same cold intensity to every role he played, like he was still in the trenches. In The Dirty Dozen, Point Blank, and Hell in the Pacific, he didn't act tough, he just told the truth. He drank hard, fought harder, and never apologized for it. When Marvin walked into a scene, everyone paid attention. No flash, no fakery, just a man who had seen real war and brought that weight to the screen. These weren't just tough guys in movies, they were forces of nature. They didn't need scripts to seem dangerous or trainers to seem strong. They lived hard, they worked harder, and they left behind a legacy of grit you can still feel on screen today. Think someone should have made this list? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more forgotten Hollywood tales.